New district attorney is in her first week in that position. Brook Jenkins joined the DA's office as a volunteer attorney in 2014. She was the public face of the recall of her former boss, Chesa Boudin, and was just appointed by the mayor to run the office as the city's top prosecutor. We welcome District Attorney Brook Jenkins to the 9. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, we've seen you touring different parts of the city in the past several days. You talk about balancing reform with accountability. Let's talk about that accountability part. What does that mean to you?
It means that we have to have consequences for criminal behavior in San Francisco. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be locking everybody up. Accountability can come in many forms. And for most of our offenders, it's going to be rehabilitation or a requirement of vocational training. But there has to be some level of a consequence for those who commit crime.
Are those opportunities, those spaces in programs available right now?
They are.
Okay.
Yes, there are many of those programs that are available. And we are going to make sure that we are utilizing them to the fullest extent.
Let's talk about your tour of the Tenderloin just the other day. We talk a lot about numbers, right? And the Tenderloin, as you know, has long been plagued with open-air drug dealing, homelessness, quality of life crimes. People say, I will do everything I can to go around the TL. How will you measure success specifically in the Tenderloin?
It's going to be how the residents that live there feel, how folks who walk through the Tenderloin, who are tourists and who want to come and eat at some of their great restaurants, feel when they're walking through the streets. Do they feel a little bit safer as we move forward with trying to make sure that we don't simply allow that area to be a safe haven for crime and drug dealing?
Do you share Mayor Breed's view that that district in particular has gotten completely out of control?
Yes, and as I walked through it the other day, I saw firsthand for myself just the problems that are plaguing the streets there.
If you're talking about the feeling, let's say, a mother has pushing her baby through the Tenderloin, that's a lot different than the numbers that line up and that many of your critics might be pointing to.
Yes, and as the mother of 2 young children, I could not imagine having to take my children through some of the things that I saw. I witnessed open-air drug use while I was there. I saw people standing on the corner to sell drugs, the amount of other things that were going on, and garbage, honestly, that was on the street. And no parent should have to take their children through that type of environment.
What are your plans for prosecuting people who are in possession of drugs, people who are dealing drugs?
We want to make sure that those who are struggling with addiction get the opportunity to have access to recovery programs. And we want to make sure that when they're in those programs, that they're not walking outside of the door to go to the local drugstore or the local, convenience store and having a dealer offer them drugs. With respect to those who are selling, it's going to be a mixed approach. We can't take a one-size-fits-all approach to any crime. Some people, depending on if they're repeat offenders, may have to be dealt with a certain way. Others, we want to make sure that we're providing them a path to legal employment.
You say dealt with a certain way. What does that mean?
Again, it comes in many forms, but there may be people who do have to serve time or other things. But I want to make sure that we're treating everyone based on their individual circumstance and their previous criminal history.
There are many people, and lots of them outside the city, who say, I want the DA to have a firm hand to clean up what's happening in San Francisco. Are you that person?
Yes, I am that person. But like I said, we are also a city of compassion that is dedicated to making sure that we give people who deserve it a second chance and people who want to turn their lives around the opportunity to do so. And accountability is connected to that recovery and that ability to rehabilitate your life. And so we want to continue to foster that opportunity for those who want it.
Your predecessor, Chesa Boudin, got a lot of heat for reform. A lot of people said, you are way too soft. The city is out of control. How do you introduce your kind of reform while still making those necessary changes?
Yeah, because again, there were many one-size-fits-all policies in the office under the previous administration that can't exist. We have to have discretion to deal with each offender based on their individual circumstance. We also want to make sure that we're dealing with repeat and chronic offenders and violent offenders very differently than we are some others who are first-time offenders.
So a firmer hand for those.
Yes.
Let's look ahead a little bit because time is tight. You're in your first week on the job. Voters have a say on whether or not you'll serve the remainder of the term for another year coming up this November.
Yes.
As you're essentially learning how to be DA on the job, how far out are you looking?
I'm looking out to November, but I'm also taking each day as it comes because that's what's important. We need to be making sure that we're taking advantage of the time that we have to make these changes, to institute the changes that are necessary in the office, to execute our mission, which is prioritizing public safety.
The recall campaign was extraordinarily expensive. You find yourself now in a position of essentially having to campaign for yourself. Is that something new to you?
In one respect, it's very new because I wasn't having to campaign for myself before, but you know, I did receive a crash course in understanding what it looks like to go out there on the circuit and campaign.
Are you still in contact with Chesa Boudin or no?
We have spoken since I took over, and he has been very gracious to offer any support that he can in the transition, yes.
Well, you might see him again in November, it seems, at the polls.
We'll see.
All right, new DA Brook Jenkins, a product of Union City.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Of course.